You are listening to the Why Smart Women podcast, the podcast that helps smart women work out why we repeatedly make the wrong decisions and how to make better ones. From relationships, career choices, finances, to faux fur jackets and kale smoothies. Every moment of every day, we're making decisions. Let's make them good ones. I'm your host, Annie McCubbin, and as a woman of a certain age, I've made my own share of really bad decisions. Not my husband. I don't mean him, though. I did go through some shockers to find him. And I wish this podcast had been around to save me from myself. This podcast will give you insights into the working of your own brain, which will blow your mind. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording and you are listening on this day. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. Hello and welcome back to the Why Smart Women podcast. This is part 2 of my interview with Emma Edwards and her fascinating book, The Wardrobe Project. If you haven't listened to part 1, I strongly suggest you do because it provides context for this second episode. Enjoy. So if that's sort of why we do it, how do we stop? How do we overcome the cognitive biases? Because I know we talked about the fact that of course there's a big financial impact, right, on not constantly shopping, but we do know that having a sense of you in the future is what you need to do in order to save, eat properly, look after yourself in whatever context. And yet we also know that when we think about our future selves, the part of the brain that fires off is the part of the brain that lights up when we think about strangers. So your future self, as you try and think about it, is a stranger. And certainly with me, when I think about spending money, it's certainly a stranger that I don't care much about. So the sense of immediacy of the bias around present focus is very much in play. I can feel it in myself when I walk past a shop and I see something I like. So the sense of present bias is very much with me. So how do we counter that?
Yeah, the first thing it comes down to for me is recognizing that change is not going to be this big crescendo moment like we see in the movies. We have been sold this idea that, it's in so many movies where a woman undergoes a makeover or a transformation and there's a big kind of montage. Sure. And then afterwards, when she supposedly has all these feelings of confidence and everything is better, it happens really, really quickly and it's the flip of a switch.
Yep.
When we actually recognize that change is a bit like I talked about when I realized my body image was better than it had ever been. It was quiet. Change isn't actually loud. Change isn't these big, massive shifts. It's really, really subtle differences in the way that you see yourself.
Listeners are used to the fact that yo-yo often has a bit of a bark, so I hope that didn't disturb anybody's concentration too much. But do go on. Yeah, these, of course, that change you're saying is gradual and quiet.
Change is quiet, and I always thought that change would be loud. I thought I would wake up one day and like myself. I would wake up one day and feel confident, or I would do one thing or buy one thing or change one thing about myself, and then I'd feel confident. So recognizing that was an unhelpful expectation was one thing. The second thing for me was breaking down the difference in what I thought I was buying and what I was actually getting.
What do you mean by that?
Before I talked about that possibility that is held within every new piece of clothing. Every time we strive to be the fantasy self, we strive to get the positive feeling. What I recognized when I started to understand the patterns in my wardrobe and the commonalities in those stories were all of the times I'd been buying something that I actually wasn't getting. That made me realize where, we say we're disconnected from our fantasy selves, that actually, rather than trying to explicitly connect with the future self, it actually kind of taught me the ways I was robbing my present self. We think we're choosing our present selves, but the present self isn't really getting anything either in this scenario. We think, I'm robbing my future self of this money because that person's a stranger to me and I'm going to buy this.
But it's a trick anyway. It's a trick. It's a ruse.
Nobody's winning. in this situation.
Yeah.
We're getting a hit of dopamine, but it's not really lasting.
Yeah. It's the hedonic adaptation. It's all just hopeless, really, isn't it?
So that sort of bridged that middle bit for me of, hang on, all of these things that I think I'm doing for myself now, I'm not actually getting.
But you would have had to have actually had that thought while you're either about to online shop and say, put it in the basket, or you're standing in the shop with your hand on the coat hanger. So you would have had to have actually intervened. You would have had to use metacognition, which is thinking about your thinking in that moment.
Yes. So I did what I called exposure therapy throughout the year, where I would browse online or go into stores and look at things. People go, "Oh my God, you're a masochist." And
no, I get that.
I am.
I actually get that.
Yeah, I think
I feel better for walking through a shop. I do.
Yeah, I do too. And what I was trying to do in the year was change the way that I bought and understand why I was doing this. And, you and I were in the business of examining behavior. So I wanted to go into the store and meet that feeling of wanting to buy something, of wanting to have something. Because we do a lot of this work around spending outside of that feeling of desire, outside of that emotional flooding.
Yeah, of course.
And I thought, it's all very easy to go, when I see things I want, I'm just not going to buy them. But I wanted to go in there and sort of get my little imaginary petri dish and put that feeling that comes up when I see something pretty that I want to buy. I wanted to grab onto it and have a little look under a microscope. So I would do this. I would go into stores and I would find things that made me want to buy them.
Yeah.
And think, right, what is my brain telling me here? What conclusions is my brain jumping to?
Yeah.
Then, because I'm nothing if not a stubborn bitch who was committed to the challenge with my whole heart, I would walk away from the shop and not buy it. Yeah. And then I would observe what would happen after that. And as time went on, were those stories my brain was telling me true? No. Was all of the weight that I'd put onto that thing, all of the ways I told myself that this thing was so great, did I still care about it in a week's time? No. All of the ways I would tell myself it's unique, I might not find anything else like this. Would I find something else the next day? Yes, I always did.
The urgency bias, of course, and so loss aversion. Loss aversion is absolutely huge. And of course, they absolutely plug into that with, the brain is very attuned to the sense of urgency and the sense of lack. So this is the only time I'm going to be able to buy that particular burgundy skirt that has that nice satin finish on a bias cut, because there will never in the whole history of the world be another one like it. And I'll tell you what thinking that goes through my mind is I deal with corporate clients and I say to myself, I can't turn up in something that's, I've had on before. Right. And also that people are looking at me and evaluating how successful I am, by the quality of the clothes that I wear. And that's just also a lie. Is that post-rationalizing?
It's funny you say about the wearing things again. This is a really big thing for people, not wanting to be seen to outfit repeat. It's all that conditioning from celebrities that were mocked for it in the magazines and media that would criticize women for wearing the same thing again. But I have a whole sort of reflection in the book, having outfit repeated exclusively for an entire year. I now see.
But did people notice?
No,
because I think that my clients would go, "Oh my God, what is she wearing? She wore that 2 Wednesdays ago."
No, I really kind of reframed it for myself. One, in that people don't notice as much as we think that they do, because we notice ourselves so much more.
That's the spotlight effect.
Yeah.
Right. We're so exquisitely involved in our own reality. We think everybody else must be deeply engaged in what's going on for us. But of course, everybody is incredibly self-centered.
Exactly. They're worrying about whether you can tell what they wore last Wednesday.
Yeah, and I can't.
You can't.
I can't even remember. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
But the other kind of aspect of it was, as I did start to find things that I loved, and as I did have to, I also do workshops, presentations, speaking events, book launches, that kind of thing. I did have to outfit repeat and wear the same thing as I, had less options to wear. And especially even now where I'm building out my wardrobe very mindfully based on who I really am rather than this fantasy self, because I had this wardrobe of artifacts of everything I wasn't. And I kind of developed this feeling of what a privilege it is to have something I love so much that I'm happy to wear again and again and again.
Oh,
what a privilege
that's a
it
nice
is.
reframe.
It's a really lovely way of thinking of it, because now, where previously I would go, oh, I've got an event to go to, that's an excuse to buy a new outfit.
Yay.
Now I go, I've got an event to go to, I cannot wait to wear that orange dress. And I'm actually outfit repeating at the book launch for the wardrobe project with the dress I wore to the release of my last book, because I love that dress so much, and what a privilege it is to wear it again.
Wow. It's not I have to wear that again. It's I get to wear that again.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a really, really good reframe. And I think you talk about enoughness.
Enoughness is a big theme of the book. And I realized this sort of connection between not feeling like we have enough clothes being linked to not feeling like we are enough in ourselves.
100%.
And I think that feeling of changing my body image during the year came down to the fact that doing the challenge, the very nature of committing to it, was me saying, I have enough. I can get through the year without more.
And I really like, because I've got a big button for me is all the palaver about self-love. I really don't like it. I think it's unattainable. I don't know what it means. I wouldn't know what that felt like. And I think it's just another thing that we can fail at.
Yeah.
I don't have enough self-love, and I've got to sit on an ashram and frigging, I don't know what I have to do, drink mint tea or something. So it drives me crazy. So I always say, just, on some days, just like yourself enough. And maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's not give ourselves yet another unattainable goal of achieving self-love, because no one really knows what it is. And life is full of ups and downs and, upheavals, and you're going to feel different on any given day, yeah?
Yeah, and, you can't take the fish out of water. The standards that we're surrounded by are still there. We can't, we're still surrounded by all of these standards. We're still surrounded by women being criticized. We're still surrounded by, the reality that people that are more conventionally attractive earn more and do better in job interviews and are seen to be more trustworthy and more social. All of those human biases are still there. So we can't shame ourselves for having to, play the game in the arena that we're in. It's one thing to go, oh, just love yourself. You don't have to wear makeup. But if you've got a job interview tomorrow and you think, I should probably put a bit of makeup on. Of course, you're going to put a bit of makeup on.
We exist in a world that has, whether or not the expectations are realistic or not, the expectations are there. We live in contexts that are bigger than us. So it is ridiculous to say it doesn't matter what you look like, because yes, it does. Because we know that we make blindingly quick decisions on who the person is within about 1 second of meeting them, which are probably replete with cognitive biases. Whether or not you can make a decision on whether or not you trust somebody or like somebody within a couple of seconds after knowing absolutely nothing about them, because you're just going through the back blocks of your brain and pulling out similar qualities, right? So we live in this very biased, quick thinking world. So we have to do the best we can.
Absolutely.
But within that, we also then layer that up with unrealistic expectations that we have put on ourselves that are actually not connected to the externals. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that we do. I think that I mentioned in the book how chasing standards can sometimes become a comfort zone. Obviously, comfort zones are all about familiarity, not necessarily
What do you mean
enjoyment.
by that?
Well, comfort zones are things that are familiar. And I think sometimes feeling like we're not good enough and rolling the dice on the next fix that will make us good enough becomes almost an addiction. I was definitely in that space with my body, anything that I could do, or with my confidence, really, anything that I could do to fix it. That thrill of the possibility and the potential change almost became something that was more attached to than just accepting myself and letting go of the standards.
100%.
What I've done since is, as we say, we do the best we can. It's not about saying just love yourself and don't wear makeup. But something I've been thinking about a lot since the project and just in my life in general, both with clothes and with beauty and overall presentation, is I try and be really wary of how much of it is really for me and how much of it is purely because I think that I should. Because when I wear makeup, yes, there's a huge standard to that. Or when I put on a nice outfit, there's a big part of it that's me living up to a standard. But at the same time, there's a co-benefit that I do love that dress, or I do love playing with my orange eyeshadows. There is something in it for me. I do get some joy out of that. Whereas when it comes to, everybody my age is getting Botox at the moment. And I thought, well, I guess I'm going to have to get Botox then. And then I thought about it and I thought, no part of me wants to go and do this. I'm doing it because I feel like I should. And for me, that's the defining line. If I don't get anything out of it for myself, and especially this work I've done on coming home to myself and liking myself, I don't do it.
So you interrogate what you're doing, because so many of these decisions come out of the limbic system, right? And then we just post-rationalize it in the prefrontal cortex. So what it seems you're doing is when you have some of these thoughts that appear to come out of the emotional part of your brain, you're really interrogating them and putting them through a filter of, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because of societal expectations, because I'm caught up in some patriarchal notion of what I should look like? Or am I doing it because I want to? I notice you've got really nice nails. Yeah. So that makes you happy, right?
I love it because it's my orange color. However, if I went in there and they said, oh, we haven't got your orange this week, well, I'm not getting them done. Because I'm not doing it to have nice nails. I'm doing it because I think that I should. It makes me more kept. I'm doing it because I love to have my orange nails.
Yeah, I really sort of get that. Yeah, it's very interesting. Tell me, did you do, just within the whole managing your body expectations, did you do a whole lot of yo-yo dieting?
Yeah, back in the day I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would say up until really the year of the project, only since I did the year have I genuinely not had intentions of losing weight for aesthetic purposes. And I recognized that during the year. In I think September of the year I didn't buy clothes, I went back to the gym because there was a gym near me and they had nice classes and things. And for the first time I was going because I enjoyed it, and I was going because it was good for my health to go.
Yeah.
It was the first time I could genuinely say that I wasn't body checking or hoping that weight would just miraculously fall off. I'd gone for health before and fitness before, but there'd always been that, imagine if I lose loads of weight.
Imagine if I lost 10 kilos.
Yeah. Or, right? When you get a new medication, you think, oh, fuck, imagine if the side effect was weight loss.
Imagine that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the first time I hadn't experienced that, and that really has stuck. And I think that's because it was a year. This wasn't a month-long thing. A year is a really long time.
That is a long time to apply yourself to something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just, as soon as you mentioned the gym, because I regularly, I go every morning, which is, it's an interesting, don't praise me. It's nothing to do with willpower. I'm in a habit, and as we know, it's like you not shopping, you get into a habit, and also it's the way I manage anxiety. And so if I don't go, I'm more anxious. So that's why I do it. But as you were talking, I was going, oh, gee, I really do need another pair of leggings because I've got 3 in the wash. I began going through the whole thing. Now I've got about 6,000 pairs of leggings, right, and bra tops. Yeah. But my brain, as soon as you mentioned gym, that's when my brain went straight to what sort of consumerism can I involve myself in? And then I see myself, then I go forward. I go, so when I go to the gym tomorrow and I'm doing this special sort of training thing and we're in a competition, and then I can go to the mall afterwards when I have my breakfast. And then after that, that's how quickly my brain goes. And I think everybody's the same. And then I can just whip downstairs and get something from the gym shop. But of course, I don't need that.
No. And it's not all about what you need. Like a lot of people go, so do you just never buy anything? And no, I like nice things. I like clothes.
Me too.
It's all about why you're buying it and whether or not you have the option to say no for me. Because like you said, you might notice that and you probably have the ability to go, I don't need another pair of leggings.
I do. Well, yeah, I do. And because we've sort of moved house into an apartment, I am now constrained by room.
Yeah.
And so I simply don't, then I just start throwing things out. I just want to say at this point that I have never involved myself in one of those, what are they called? A Temu, Temu dump,
Temu haul?
Temu haul.
Yeah, no, I've never done Temu either.
Yeah, because, and then we look at the whole ethical thing about clothing as well, right?
Yeah. That was, the real fabulous collateral benefit of doing this.
And tell me about that.
Well, I had to sort of be honest with readers at the beginning of the book that I didn't do this for sustainability. Of course, I knew that it would be a benefit, and that was a big, driver in my decision that it will only be a net positive for the environment if I don't buy anything for a year. But it wasn't a sustainability pursuit. And yet we touch on it in the book because I wanted to let people know that I was coming at this from this behavioral identity perspective, because I think that these things that we've talked about are one of the biggest things that get in the way of people being able to follow through on their sustainability intentions and upholding their values in that way.
Yeah.
Because we go, we see the videos and we see the human exploitation, we see the impact, and we see how bad the fashion industry is. And yet we still go, I have this urgent feeling of need from this piece of clothing that I've seen because I've got somewhere to go and I have to look good and I don't feel like I look good. And that's why, I talk in the book about the stats between the intentions and the actual behaviors of people around sustainability. People intend to do things, but we don't follow through on that for a multitude of reasons. But I think that one of them really is this deep emotional connection we have with clothes that is unfortunately stronger than our desire to do the right thing or uphold our values, because our values would mean respecting ourselves. And a lot of what we're doing with our clothing consumption is actually not respecting ourselves.
Yeah, isn't it? It's really detangling yourself from that sense of hope for change, isn't it? Hope for difference, hope for a better you that's going to come with that, that cream knit waist dress that you saw.
Yeah. But through doing this work and through feeling the way I feel now, I've removed that fog that kept going, just buy this one and then we'll try again next time to be more sustainable.
Yeah.
Now that layer is gone, I'm able to actually follow through much more on my sustainability intentions of wearing what I have and buying things to last.
You've taken care of the whole dopamine thing, right?
Yeah. It's like I said, you've still got to manage it. But now I have that confidence that I'm able to manage it. And sure, I see pretty things and I go, oh, no. And, occasionally I'll give into that and then I'll realize and go, actually, no, let's empty the cart. We don't want to buy
empty the cart. I have one friend who manages the whole process by daily she just fills the cart and then just leaves.
Yep.
So she's gone through the process of I really need that handbag, or I really need those shoes, or I really need that dress. And then she just never buys it.
It's, I think the hardest thing is I'm almost very good now at not buying. The hardest thing is when I do want or need to buy something, it's really making sure that I'm doing that in the right way and that it is something that will last and that I will wear, because the most sustainable outfit you can wear is one you already have. So you can either approach that by wearing what you have or buying things that you will want to wear.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, like I said, I uncovered so many mistakes I'd been making in my wardrobe. And so there was a little bit of a recalibration period where I had all the, I guess, view of myself and all the understanding of wanting to wear what I had, but the clothes that I owned were fundamentally wrong for my body. So I did need to replace a few 100%. Things.
Yeah.
But now that I've done that, I actually did the year of not buying again this year with the things I'd obviously replaced from the year in between. And it was completely different this year because I love my wardrobe now. So repeating my clothes was so much more fun because I love my stuff more than I love what's in shops.
What a successful experiment.
Truly.
You know, how many of us are thinking, you know, the next 5 kilos or, you know, the next thing I buy or the next crossbody bag or, you know, I've got about 27 bags. I'm like, and yet I'm looking at crossbody bags. I don't need another crossbody bag. I've got 27 crossbody bags, but it's just the hue. As soon as we can go the bag, you know, the clothes, the 5 kilos, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to get to nirvana where I feel confident, like all the women that I see around me that I presume are confident and are all struggling with the same things, unless they're a psychopath, in which case they don't feel anything, and who cares anyway, right? So, you know, we're all replete with insecurities, and, you know, we all suffer from loss of confidence and doubt. It's what makes us human. And perhaps, you know, to think we're ever going to get rid of it, we can just get closer to this notion of who we actually are. Emma Edwards, would you think that's right?
Absolutely agree. It's not a loud change, and it's not the flip of a switch.
No.
It's just very, very
Slowly. It's great.
Very subtly shifting the way that you see yourself and seeing that you actually are enough without all of these external things.
Now, where can people buy your book?
People can buy the book at all major retailers in Australia as of November 26th.
So people can buy your book at all major retailers. I strongly recommend women to buy this book because it is going to allow you to cognitively unhook from some of this thinking that we are fused with, which is the next thing that I buy is going to fix it. And I'm here to tell you from my grand age that it doesn't work. So I strongly recommend that you read this book. It's highly relatable and extremely well written. I hate you for that. And I don't resile from that, Emma. I do not resile from that. I'm sorry.
You're being too kind. It's there are definitely some patchy parts that I'd love to go back and rewrite, but such is any book.
You'll do you know what? With writing, you're never going to get there.
No.
It's I can rewrite, you know, a paragraph for 2 weeks, and at some point I've got to go, you better write the next one because that's never going to be perfect.
Exactly.
So, on that note, I thank you so much for coming on. That was so interesting and instructive, and it's really had quite a profound effect on me and my appalling shopping habits. I just wish I'd read it earlier, but I didn't, so there you go. Thank you so much, Emma, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really loved this chat. And
maybe you can come on again.
Always available.
Delightful. So thank you so much, listeners, wherever you are in the world. I wish you well, stay safe, stay well, keep your critical thinking hats on, and see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into Why Smart Women with me, Annie McCubbin. I hope today's episode has ignited your curiosity and left you feeling inspired by my anti-motivational style. Join me next time as we continue to unravel the fascinating layers of our brains and develop ways to sort out the fact from the fiction and the over 6,000 thoughts we have in the course of every day. Remember, intelligence isn't enough. You can be as smart as paint, but it's not just about what you know, it's about how you think. And in all this talk of whether or not you can trust your gut, if you ever feel unsafe, whether it's in the street, at work, in a car park, in a bar, or in your own home, please respect that gut feeling. Staying safe needs to be our primary objective. We can build better lives, but we have to stay safe to do that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the podcast and share it with your fellow smart women and allies. Together, we're hopefully reshaping the narrative around women and making better decisions. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savvy, and keep your critical thinking hat shiny. This is Annie McCubbin signing off from Why Smart Women. See you later. This episode was produced by Harrison Hess. It was executive produced and written by me, Annie McCubbin.